Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome to my channel. Hope you all are doing well. As you all know that in the last video we discussed the development of sociology and the role of Auguste Comte, as he was the one who coined the term of sociology. And today in this video we will be discussing some more contributors of sociology. First of all, we will be discussing the role of Harriet Martineau. Before we start this video, I would like to request you all to please subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and do share your feedback in the comment section. So basically, Harriet Martineau was born in Norwich, England. She was the sixth of 8 children and she was unhappy in her youth. She became deaf at a very young age and she had no sense of taste or smell. Hearing aids did not exist back then, so she used an ear trumpet. In 1826, her father died, leaving her with little money. She needed to find a job, but the typical line of work for young women was teaching, and teaching was not open to her because she was deaf. Instead, she turned to writing. She published Theory and Practice of Society in America in 1837, in which she analyzed the customs and lifestyle present in 19th century United States. Her book was based on traveling throughout the US and observing day-to-day life in all its forms, from that which took place in prisons, in mental hospitals, in factories, to family gatherings, slave auctions, and even proceedings of the Supreme Court and Senate. The book helped map out what a sociological work dealt with by examining the impact of immigration, family issues, politics, and religion, as well as race and gender issues. In her book, she also compared social stratification systems in Europe with those in the US. Martineau's work also demonstrated the level of objectivity she thought was necessary for an analysis of society, when she noted that it is hard to tell which is worse, the wide diffusion of things that are not true or the suppression of things that are. Later in her career, she came to the conclusion that scholars should not just offer observations, but should also use their research to bring about social reform for the benefit of society. She asked her readers to judge for themselves how far the people of the US lived up to their stated ideals. Martineau was outspoken about the treatment of women in the United States. She thought women were treated like slaves. She was a proponent of expanding the education of women so that they did not have to depend only on marriage to live successfully. Martineau's second important contribution to sociology was translating into English Auguste Comte's 6th volume, Positive Philosophy. So she was the one to translate Auguste Comte's Positive Philosophy to English language. Her 2-volume edition of this book introduced the field of sociology to England and influenced people such as Herbert Spencer as well as early American sociologists. Comte himself recommended Martineau's translation to his students instead of his own. So this was the contribution of Martineau towards sociology. And now we will discuss the role of Herbert Spencer, 1820 to 1903, as to what was his role in the contribution towards sociology. So basically, Herbert Spencer was largely self-educated. He had an enormous impact on a variety of fields, including sociology. In 1858, he outlined an enormous project for himself that few people have ever attempted. He wanted to demonstrate how the idea of evolution applied to sociology, biology, psychology, and morality. Spencer thought the 10 volumes he planned to produce of this work would take 20 years. In fact, it took the rest of his life. The books he produced helped define these fields and shape the future development of these disciplines. So the volumes of the books that he produced were named as Principles of Sociology, The Study of Sociology, Principles of Biology, Principles of Psychology, and The Principle of Ethics. He produced 3 volumes on the Principles of Sociology, 2 volumes for Principles of Biology, 2 volumes for Principles of Psychology, and 2 volumes for the Principles of Ethics, and 1 for the Study of Sociology. Eventually, Spencer became the most famous philosopher of his time. His works were translated into many languages and he received numerous honors and awards throughout the world. Spencer believed society was similar to a living organism. Just as the individual organs of the body are interdependent and make their specialized contributions to the living whole, so too are the various segments of society interdependent. Every part of the society serves a specialized function necessary to ensure society's survival as a whole. Spencer became a proponent of a doctrine known as social Darwinism, which applied to society. Charles Darwin's notion of survival of the fittest, in which those species of animals best adapted to the environment survived and prospered, whereas those poorly adapted died out. Spencer reasoned that people who could not successfully compete in modern society were poorly adapted to their environment and were therefore inferior. Lack of success was viewed as an individual failing, and that failure was in no way related to barriers such as prejudice or racism created by society. In this view, to help the poor and needy was to intervene vainly in a natural evolutionary process, as Spencer stated. So, the way Spencer actually explained all this through his words and quotations was as follows. Spencer noted, human society is always in a kind of evolutionary process in which the fittest, which happened to be those who can make lots of money, were chosen to dominate. There were the armies of unfit, the poor who simply could not compete, and just as nature weeds out the unfit, an enlightened society ought to weed out its unfit and permit them to die off so as not to weaken the racial stock. Social Darwinism had a significant effect on those who believed in the inequality of races. They now claimed that those who had difficulty succeeding in the white world were really members of inferior races. The fact that they lost out in the competition for status was proof of their poor adaptability to the environment. The survivors were clearly of superior stock, according to Berry and Tischler, 1978. Many people accepted social Darwinism because it served as a justification for their control over the society. It enabled them to oppose reforms or social welfare programs which they viewed as interfering with nature's plan to do away with the unfit. Social Darwinism thus became a justification for the repression and neglect of African Americans following the Civil War. It was also used to justify policies that resulted in the decimation of Native American populations. During the last years of his life, Spencer was quite isolated and disillusioned. He never married, and many of his close friends died. He imagined he had many illnesses which doctors were unable to verify or treat. Spencer's ties to social Darwinism have led many scholars to disregard his original contributions to the discipline of sociology. However, Spencer originally formulated many of the standard concepts and terms still current in sociology, and their use derives directly from his works. During the 19th century, sociology developed rapidly under the influence of three other scholars of highly divergent temperaments and orientations. Despite their differences, however, Karl Marx, Emile Durkheim, and Max Weber were responsible for shaping sociology into a relatively coherent discipline. So this was all about today's video. We discussed the contributions of Harriet Martineau and Herbert Spencer towards sociology. And in the next video, we will be discussing about Karl Marx, Emile Durkheim, and Max Weber. So if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and share your precious feedback in the comments below. Also, please do not forget to press the bell icon beside the subscribe button so that you can get the updates of the future videos. Thank you so much for watching.